you think about it? Pretty Woman, where she has that epic scene where the guy is basically teaching her, like, how do I say it, social graces and how to use your spoons and forks and in fine dining, and also how to use your snail fork, right? And how to use that little pick that we had there. And that's exactly what we had right inside. We ordered that large dish. It was just absolutely phenomenal.
Ah, voilà. Attention, l'assiette est très chaude. Le plat est très chaud.
Nice. Amazing. So this is 36 pieces of snails or escargot in different flavors. There's split foie gras, there's chili, there's truffle, there's garlic and cheese, and traditional. And then here we've got frog's legs. And then here we've got foie gras or duck liver. Very indulgent. And we have here something refreshing to cut all that grease. We've got gazpacho. Initially, I didn't want to really speak because there was a huge table beside me, but oh my goodness, the escargot is truly delightful. It's reminiscent of a local Filipino dish called kuhol. And it's usually cooked in coconut milk, and then it's spicy and creamy and just, I love it. So there's 36 pieces that are, don't worry, like we're gonna eat that, yeah. So there's 36 pieces we had ordered. It's basically like different flavors, all combined together. And you know, at first my sister was saying, oh, that's a lot of snails. And I'm like, they're so tiny inside. And at the same time, it just looks so pretty, like the way that it was being served onto our table, on top of like a part of the comparison, like a pizza tray. And it's like on top, and you see all our other dishes. So we had also ordered, or they had also ordered foie gras. And then at the same time, they also ordered frog's legs, and they're actually really, really, really delicious. Although very bony, it literally melts in your mouth, just absolute tenderness. And then there's actually, we had gazpacho soup, well I did, which is actually really refreshing because, you know, it's oily and there's just a lot of grease, a lot of fat in the menu today. So at least it's a good gazpacho with that cold tomato just cutting in to have that refreshing note. That was it. And we are back to escargot. So this flavor right here that it took a while for me to remove it. It's garlic. It's garlic. Lots and lots of tons of garlic.
Yeah, it's okay. Once I've been here before, but I didn't eat that.
You know what? A lot of people like, you know, think that the idea of escargots are kind of gross.
Okay, once in a while.
But you know what? I think it's just, I think just knowing what it is, I guess it's like a slug of sorts. But the texture is, if you've ever eaten the heart of a chicken, when I used to eat chicken, it's kind of similar. It's very chewy. It's like a gummy. It's kind of gummy and it's chewy. And what gives it flavor is just has different flavors. I had some chili. I had some truffle. The truffle was just very, very mild. There was the traditional. But my personal favorite was definitely the garlic. So this is cut confit, and because we all want to share with everybody, we're cutting it in different pieces already. Yes.
I would like to try the confit. It's the best confit I ever had in my whole life. And I tried a lot, I can tell you.
Really?
Yeah.
So can you describe it?
In English, it's gonna be complicated for me.
I mean, like, is it like a traditional French dish?
I like it because it's not too salty. Sometimes it's really, really too much salt in it. Now in this one, it's pretty good.
And it's a traditional French dish.
It's a traditional French dish from the southwest of France.
From the southwest of France. Thank you. So what I did is I removed some of this and I mixed it with my salad. Because, you know, some people want to eat something with rice. I need my leaves. I need my salad. I am so devastated because among all the dishes that we tried here, they were all phenomenal. Like, phenomenal. But the dish that I didn't get to record because I was so engrossed with the frog legs, with the escargot, was the salmon. Because technically, it was supposed to be a scorpion fish dish, but it was out of stock or it wasn't available. So the maitre d' actually came and said, how about we replace it with salmon? And he said something. And we're like, okay. And honestly, I mean, I love salmon, but sometimes when it's not made well, it's like they all taste the same. However, this is the best salmon I've ever had, and it's so sad I didn't get a video. So what you're going to see right now is the last bite that I'm trading with my cousin for my escargot. It is so sad that this is the last bite, but it is going to be gone in a few seconds.
That's the best one.
Okay, let me explain this. It is the best salmon that's ever been prepared because it's not really fully cooked. It is like tender as a pillow, absolutely divinely fresh salmon. Like, you know, that's warm, and then the top skin is a little bit crispy, and then it is sitting on a bed of, get this, giant slices of tomatoes with some fennel, and of course some other spices. And you know, sometimes when you have too much of tomatoes, it tends to get soggy or it gets a little too much because it's so wet. However, that surprising combination of salmon over the tomato is kind of like that gazpacho because the salmon is so rich and you tend to get a little umai. I don't know what umai is, but it sometimes too much of a good thing is it gets to your brain and you can't have any more. It saturates or satiates your mouth, and then but that tomato is just so refreshing, and you had to be there. You had to be in my mouth to get it. It was amazing. And that was absolutely phenomenal. So this restaurant is actually really historical. It's from 1832. I didn't really want to vlog in there as much. I tried to, but I was a little bit too shy. And honestly, I was just so like wowed by the food. And this is coming from someone who doesn't really like oily food, who doesn't like very rich, indulgent food, but that was probably one of the better meals I've ever had during my travels. To think it was a lot of butter, and look at me, like I look so dazed and sleepy. It's as if I had wine, but I actually didn't have any wine. My face is so flush. It's so warm. It's just, it was so indulgent, but just really luxurious. It was excellent cooking. Yeah, it was amazing. So this is definitely one of the meals that I will never forget. Because we told our tour guide, look, we don't want to go to the typical Angelina's cafe for their hot chocolate or just a very typical touristy stuff. We want something that's very local. Maybe the locals don't necessarily really come here because escargot and frog's legs are not something they eat every day. However, this is traditional French cuisine, and she certainly brought us to a great one. And in fact, a lot of the people who were eating inside, you've had Arabs, you had a lot of Asians, a lot of Asian, predominantly Asian. It was like our people. And it was nice because look, they're just so curious about escargot and French cuisine and whatnot. And truly, it was such a remarkable experience. So once again, Bon appetit! 1730, let's bring it back to 1730, folks. So there's a lot of pastry chefs throughout history, especially in Europe, where when the royal family really likes them, they commission to have them make cookies or cakes or certain chocolates or whatnot. And in this case, there's a store right here called Stohrer. So it's a very, very popular patisserie right here along the street of Montorgueil.
Rue Montorgueil.
And what he's famous for, well, apart from all the chocolates and all the macarons and all these other treats that you can find inside, is he had actually created a, I would like to say like a rum cake. It's basically these little cakes that are dipped in rum, like swimming in rum. So we actually bought right now. I cannot even eat this. I will try it later because I'm so full from all that butter, all that goodness of escargot. Okay, you know what? I may not be able to eat the rum cake right now because you need a spoon. The sauce spills everywhere. And here I am saying like I can't have any more food. And yet my sister buys some macaroons and I'm like, okay. They're giant. You see this? It's so big. Not too sweet, and it is so chewy and cold, and a contrast from that warmth from all that butter. Awesome. They actually say that you never judge a book by its cover. Why? Well, if you take a look at it, this place is actually, or the exterior is actually being renovated. Well, I think it should be, considering it's so old. It is so old that it dates back all the way to 1686, making it the very first cafe in Paris. And that's why we're actually having lunch at this historical establishment. And that's why you actually get to see that all the tourists are kind of curious because it's hidden in all that scaffolding. Little do they know that underneath the scaffolding is one of the city's gems. Hi, okay, so obviously there are a couple of menu items, but I personally wanted to try the French onion soup. Personally, it's not something I always order, but it is very popular all over the world. And why not get it in a very historical restaurant, right? So here's a little fun fact about French onion soup. I know what you see here, it's got cheese, it's presented in a very chic, beautiful way, but it actually started as just a very simple onion broth soup. It was actually usually made for a poor man's soup, where all they had was just onions, and they would put it in water to create a broth. And then the croutons that you usually find on onion soup, it's because again, it's like this bread over here, more stale, very stale, quite tough to eat, so they would dunk it into the broth to make it a little bit softer and giving the soup a little more texture. It's only as the soup has evolved through time and in the world that they decided to add cheese and all these ooh la 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 la. So why don't we try our soup right here? So usually what they do is they break into, ooh, it looks like wow, that is some thick cheese right there. Usually I know they use Gruyere cheese, right? A saltier cheese. We're breaking into that cheese. Oh, there, you can see like the bread soaking in all that broth. And I know some of you thinking, Bianca, you are indoors. Why are you wearing sunglasses? Well, guys, to be honest, because you saw that there was renovations outside, it's really dusty, and it's actually making my eyes burn. So I'm just using them as an eye shield. So pardon if it seems to give the wrong impression. So we're winding that cheese, that beautiful cheese. And let's add some broth. Here. There we go. Holy crap, that is so good. It is like a pizza with broth, if that's even a thing. It's so good. It's like the cheese is just melting in your mouth, and the broth is just so full of flavor. It's French onion soup. Soup à l'oignon. My sister actually had escargot. I can promise you that they were there, but they're now in her belly. And the fact that we never got to talk about it, it means they were good. So while I'm waiting for my food, because the French, they like to do it, I wouldn't say slow, but a very relaxed, not rushed, which is how, dolce vita. I know that's not French, but it's just basically, savoring. It's a social gathering. You want it to be just where you don't feel like even when you're eating, you're still hustling. Okay, so part of the history here in this restaurant is that, well, the way they were saying, because we were asking, hey, so we want to order what Napoleon Bonaparte ordered. And he said nothing. He probably ordered bread. He said because he had no money. Well, I know he was just joking. And you know what? I might believe that, because once upon a time when he was eating here, he actually left his hat, his bicorn hat, as a form of payment. I honestly thought he left it as like, look at me, I am the Emperor Bonaparte. Like, you should be grateful. I'm even leaving like my hat over here as form of payment. I don't know, but this is his hat right over here. When you go up the stairs, it's displayed ever so beautifully. All right, so from downstairs, you make your way up. This is just an example of the beautiful dining room that they have. And oh wow, it actually goes upstairs as well. Amazing. So a lot of the furniture that you find here are actually originals. Take a look at this wallpaper. This is actually an original from 1834. So, wow, crazy. Oh, look at that, Salon Frédéric Chopin. So Chopin was a very famous French composer. Look at that, Soirée Procope. From what I know, soirée means is like a get-together. Perhaps that was like a ticket to one of the parties that they would have here. So one of the things that I do know, going back to Bonaparte, is that during the Revolution, this wasn't really a restaurant. It was actually used as sort of like a headquarters where they would have like their secret meetings. But now, excuse me, I admit, it's a little bit dusty in here. And you know what? It keeps in line. It keeps in line with how ancient, how historical, how old it is. You can savor the mustiness. So this chic stew that's served in a really hot clay pot, it's served with macaroni, giant, almost like rigatoni. But Philippe was saying that it can also be served with potatoes. This is a very traditional, not necessarily aristocratic type of dish, but a very traditional French dish where usually, you know, families would have this at the center in a big pot, and they would just be dining for 3 to 4 hours with their cheeses and their breads and their wines and just having good conversation and just hanging out and then passing out from how rich the food is. But yes, I can imagine it's very good. So I'm gonna have my cousin's risotto. Okay, it is mushroom risotto with summer truffle. No, that's really, really good. It's actually, the sauce is not as heavy, surprisingly. Very good. And as for me, I got the healthiest thing I could find on the menu, and now they're all making fun of me. Yes, guys, I am that person. You're gonna see on the vlog, I've had some really indulgent food. That's why I needed to take a break. I had a tuna tartare. I actually thought it was a Niçoise salad because usually they have it with like, you know, tuna and all these other vegetables with olives and tomatoes. And that's exactly what it said in the description. But no, it literally is tuna tartare with lots of onions and a very light, refreshing dressing.
Really? If you go to Normandy, to the Mont Saint-Michel, for example, they cook with butter. They used to cooking with butter.
Healthy is the way to go. It's actually starting to get warm here this week in Paris. It's cold. It has that crunch from the very light, thin slices of onion. And there's that salty brininess from the olives. And then of course your tuna is absolutely super fresh with just a very, very thin coating of oil. And then that tanginess from the dressing. Very, very nice. Voila. And after a meal usually comes with a cup of tea, or in this case, a cup of coffee. I think the word cafe is probably one of the most recognized words all over the world, where in Paris, you can find so many cafes all over where you can enjoy a cup of coffee. Here in this historical restaurant is actually where they served for the very first time coffee in a china cup, just like this. Nowadays, we take these things for granted. It's like, oh yeah, did it come from China? Well, I didn't even know that it did. But yes, ceramics, maybe. I honestly, I don't know. Please don't quote me on that. But yes, there's a lot of trading that was going on back in those days. And so to have this from Asia was something very exotic, and it was for the bourgeoisie. You know, it's very bougie. It is so bougie that it comes with sugar in a plastic. I'm telling you, they were so innovative during those times. If that didn't hit you as a joke, you are not bougie enough. Okay, so we're gonna have our cup of coffee. Very nice. Now, if you can imagine this cup of coffee, Benjamin Franklin, Thomas Jefferson, imagine that they were seated right here. And if you think of like the American Constitution, they could have been actually writing those notes right here, because they said that some of those, how do I say, a part of it, or maybe inspired, were actually done here in Paris, specifically in this restaurant. So I highly doubt it came with these cookies, but today they do. I have just died and gone to like a grocery heaven. If you're like me, where when I was a little girl, my idea of fun was actually going with my mom to the grocery store and getting lost. So I'm here in Grande Épicerie, which is basically a huge gourmet grocery on steroids. That is foie gras right there. Duck liver. You've got your caviar. So this is the seafood area where you can actually, it's a very bougie dampa, Lord. All the fresh seafood. Oh my God, I'm dying. Like, look at this. Look at all the freshest fish. Look at all those colors. Oh my God. You can actually have meals here apart from doing your groceries. You know, you've got your jamon iberico from Spain, the freshest fruits and vegetables of every color. You've got your pastas that are just ready to be cooked. An amazing array of like ready salads and sorts that you just weigh. Incroyable. They have every cuisine that you can think of, an international from different countries all over the world that they serve and sell right here. You've got your wine selection, and of course you can pair it with one section just for cheese or fromage. And then you've got your different pâtés. It is incredible, incredible. A wine cellar slash grocery slash like a really beautiful closet of the fine selection and alcohol. Wow. So this is literally a coffee bar where she's weighing the different coffee beans that you find available here, to teas. Yeah. Different selection. They've got your Angelinas over here, chocolates, and apparently this brand is the most famous, most luxurious tea in France. And we've got a patisserie for the senses. Incredible. Imagine doing your grocery here. If your grocery looked like this, oh goodness. I would just never leave. I have just died and gone to heaven again. This is my absolute favorite treat in the whole world. Cannellis, they are from Bordeaux. You can buy them in a pack. I am so buying two. We have Greek olive oil, literally in a bag, for 89 euros. Oh yeah. Damn. You have got chocolate covered cherries. I am so happy. I really thought I was gonna go empty-handed, because do you know those cases where you're so overwhelmed and you want to buy everything that you don't end up with anything? Yeah, so sometimes that happens. And because I don't, as much as I want to eat my way through Europe, that's just not how I roll. I like to sample a little bit or two, right? Still be mindful. But cannellis though, in a bag? Come on. So it was so nice that my cousin actually treated me to 2 bags. So thank you. Excited. Where do you think I am right now, right? So I'm here on the famous Champs-Élysées in Paris, where it's our last stop. But before I say goodbye to everybody, why don't I give you guys a little backstory? So it's almost about 30 years ago. I was a little girl. I was in Paris with my sister and my mom, and we asked her, Mom, can we please sit in Champs-Élysées just like the Parisians do, so we can have coffee and be, you know, all fancy and all that? And back then my mom was like, what, you want to do that? You know, it's really expensive. What would you rather, shop or go to Champs-Élysées and just sit in a cafe? Well, I think everybody can tell what we chose back then. But fast forward to today, that desire is still here. I've been to Paris a couple of times already, but it still feels like the first time every time. So, we've taken you to traditional French cuisine with your escargots and your frog's legs, and we've had some historical desserts in your patisserie in Stohrer. And then we brought you to my opinion, one of the most amazing, beautiful, luxurious gourmet groceries here in Paris where the locals shop. And then, of course, it all boils down to what do I really want to experience? And I think you would agree as well, whether you've been or you've never been. To sit in a Parisian cafe along a historical street such as this, in the city of love, in the city of lights, to just people watch and let it all sink in. So it doesn't even matter if you're not on Champs-Élysées. You know why? Well, maybe back in the day, all the rich and famous would be sitting here, yeah, because it's like the bougie street. But the locals actually don't stay here anymore because it's been flooded by tourists. So there are thousands of cafes that are littered all over the city that will truly give you that local Parisian vibe that you are truly longing for. But for now, this is mine. So, I'm Bianca Valerio, bidding you au revoir. This is really my drink. This is my sister's. I'm Bianca Valerio. Bye, everybody.